everybody. Give it a minute just to boot up here. And today is Wednesday, January 20th. We're here with the 2 o'clock update, and a reminder that this evening I will be doing an evening Facebook Live after the policy meeting with the board. So I'm not exactly sure what time that is. I'm going to shoot between 7 and 8, but it'll depend on how long the board meeting goes, and that starts at 6. So I will be on afterwards, though, to do an evening edition for parents who want to ask questions and can't do it during the day. So some things that are coming up. Next week starts the second semester for secondary, which means if students were in 20-week classes, they're ending, and the next 20-week class for our 40 weeks of school are starting. And much like we did in September, we will be using a Wednesday, probably February 3rd, that after the first week gets up, for a pickup of any books or supplies and to meet the teachers if you're a remote student for the second semester and you have new classes starting. And also if you had books from the first 20-week courses that you need to turn in. So that will be out through Schoology, the learning platform, where your new teachers will tell you more information about it, and the teachers you're leaving will give you information on how to drop off. Mainly this is for the high school and mainly for those kids who are in 20-week courses. We want to remind our secondary students as well that a letter went home with the grading policies, making attendance a priority for these online courses, and that grades right now are very important. Last year when this happened later in the year, in March, and ended up through June, they canceled the Regents exams. They have not done that yet at New York State, so we're still prepping as if they're coming. And even when they did cancel Regents exams last year, the only way to pass then was that the work was done and they had passed the coursework. So there still is, some of that going on. There's been a little chatter. I think the word's getting out that our graduating seniors need to have 15 hours of service learning hours completed. That is a reduction. And basically it's about 7.5 hours a semester. A year, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th, that we asked kids to do some service learning hours, and so they took it down to the 9th and 10th grade year before COVID started. That being said, if you did 0 hours and you're a senior, there are a lot of ideas and suggestions that are COVID safe for you to get these hours done and completed. If we do end up getting snow in the next couple of weeks, and you do shovel a neighbor's driveway or do something like that, just ask them to sign a piece of paper, talk to the advisor at the high school and make sure you get clearance for that. But those are all types of things that you could do safely and help out the community. Our kindergarten registration and pre-K registration for the 21-22 school year is going to start on February 2nd. And they're going to put a link into the comments here in a minute where you can click on that to start making appointments. It'll be by appointment only throughout the month of February, and it will also be for UPK students who are there. They're already registered, but if you're in a Head Start program or you're new to the district or you went to a private UPK program, you can come in and make an appointment to register. Typically with kindergarten registration, we are looking for a screening date then, where they come in and they test the kids for the basics. That did not happen last summer because of COVID, so we will push that off until summer and see if things are different and change. We did meet with the Niagara County Department of Health this week, as we always do, and while things are decent in Niagara County as far as not canceling vaccine appointments that people are making, there is a concern because it seems that you have to get the second dose within 4 weeks of the first dose, and that means that for the first 4 weeks they'll be giving out first shots. The next 4 weeks, they have the same amount of staff and have to give everyone shots again. So that's like a block of 8 weeks. So they said getting the 1A and the 1B people done seems that it'll take longer because for the second 4 weeks, weeks 5 through 8, there won't be a lot of new first round vaccinations being given out. This is all at the mercy of getting the vaccine as well. So they're hoping and they're being told that don't hold any vaccines back for the second round. They'll make sure that they get the ones they need so people can get the second dose. But as you hear on the news, and the Department of Health is no different, they're very concerned that they may not get the doses they need. So that's where we're on in that, sort of land. The COVID cases in the area for Niagara County are in the 7% range. In Niagara County in the last week, it was reported that we had a number of deaths due to COVID, which have not been happening in a while. So they were a little concerned with that. And because the superintendents are always talking to them about how we can maybe lessen the quarantining or do things or do more testing. And there really isn't anything at this point in time that would require or allow districts to do something drastically different as far as doing that. The other questions that have been coming up recently is about, will we end the school year this way? Can we move to more days of instruction for in-person, and what are we doing for that? So some of the things that are still in place and could be in place in September, sadly, are the social distancing piece, which a lot of the larger school districts suffer with, trying to maintain that. So it's starting to think outside the box. I had a conversation with a parent this morning about spaces in school, using community buildings for extra classrooms. All those types of things are things that we talk about how we can move forward to get more in-person learning going forward. That means working with unions. That means watching and talking with the governor and the Department of Health to see if any of the restrictions that are placed on school districts will change or lessen. So we are constantly doing that. It's a fluid motion, and we try to do that. This week, Drake Elementary School is closed, and I saw some comments in there about why is this school closed and this school not, and how come it's 1 week and not 2 weeks, and all these different things. So a lot of the things that we do is spend hours and hours on the phone with the Department of Health once we do this. And sometimes when you're looking, if you're a person who likes to check the website to see how many cases North Tonawanda has daily, it gives you a number in a building. Doesn't tell you who that person is, obviously, for privacy. But some of those cases are a week old. Okay, so someone said, I started not feeling well, I'm not going to come to school as a student. I went and got a test. 3 or 4 days later, I got my results. It was positive. When you get the results, and I've said this many times and it's on the website, they go back only 48 hours. So if that person wasn't in school, they were let's say a Thursday, Friday person who didn't go to school because they weren't feeling well, went for a test on Saturday, and they get the results Monday, Tuesday. Now it's reported positive on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, and we go back to when they took the test and they weren't in school the 48 hours before because they weren't feeling well and they didn't come that last Thursday, Friday. So there is no need to contact trace or quarantine based on that case and that scenario, which has happened a lot, and that's why the 2 days on and 3 days off seems to work well for school districts not to be closing a lot. In Drake's case, we had a person who was an employee and was at work, didn't develop any symptoms until late at night, and then early the next morning went for a test and ended up being positive. So when they went right away, where were you the days before, we had to follow that employee through all the places in the building that they had been and been possibly close contact. So that's a different scenario. So in that case, we would have had to either isolate 3 or 4 classes And that's assuming that those teachers then didn't go, or those students didn't go and ride on a bus and do all that stuff, or eat lunch in a cafeteria where other kids were, even though they're socially distanced. So very quickly you can see a difference in how or why we might close a school for quarantining, based on who it is and when they were last in the building. So while we are required to put in all the COVID cases as they're confirmed by the Department of Health, you need to know some of those could be a day old and some of those could be a week or a week and a half old. So it just depends on where they went for their test and what kind of test and how fast they got the results. We have people who live near, because we're on the border of Erie County, or they live in Erie County if they're staff, and will get tested in Erie County. That adds a day or two to the reporting to Niagara County, because once they put it in the system, it then has to travel to Niagara County because the test wasn't done in Niagara County. So this has not been a perfect science. It's been a lot of learning as we go, sadly. And the good news is that we haven't had to close a lot of buildings here, an awful lot, and that our cases, for the most part, have been low in percentage. I do attribute a lot of the low percentage because of the social distancing, the mask wearing, the cleaning, and the disinfectant that we do daily in our buildings help with that as well. But there's just some guidelines that we just can't not take into account, and open up the schools to full 100% learning. So let's see what we got. So the first thing posted is the link for the UPK registration to make an appointment, and kindergarten registration for the upcoming school year. The other thing that's not posted here, but we will put it out on Facebook as a link, is the Buffalo Museum of Science is holding a free seminar through Zoom that you can sign up for to hear about and ask questions about the vaccine and the safety of it and what's in it and how it's made and why do you wait 2 weeks and why does it have to be refrigerated. And they're very happy to share that with me, to share with our North Tonawanda community, because they feel the more people who understand or get their questions answered about the vaccine will help people make that decision when the time comes to get the vaccine. So it is through the Buffalo Museum of Science. We do have a link that we will be putting up either in the feed here or out on Facebook. It is next week. It is Wednesday, January 27th from 6 to 7 at night. I'm sure they would go longer if there's more questions, but very informative on the vaccines that are being offered and put out there. I don't see any comments today, which seems odd to me. There wouldn't be more comments. It is Inauguration Day, so there's a lot going on in Washington and around the country. So let's assume maybe people are watching for that. Drake School will be open again on Monday the 25th, and we'll do a little bit of math lesson on Drake while we're here, okay? So the Monday, Tuesday students would have last been in school on the 12th of January, and we closed this week. So the 19th, 18th was a holiday, the 19th, they did virtual, and the rest of this week. So when you go back to the 12th to the 19th, and the county is now saying a 10-day quarantine, our Monday, Tuesday students will be out more than 10 days and before they come back, and same with our Thursday, Friday kids. So, so that's another reason for that split with the Wednesday remote, to give us that breathing room we need, so we're not closing for 2, 3, and 4 weeks. We do monitor though, so because there was a positive case at Drake, that would have resulted in a lot of quarantining because of close contact. If I get a lot of calls tonight or tomorrow that there's more positive cases at Drake and we do the testing, it could be closed longer. But it's a good sign that since Friday last week and today's Wednesday, we haven't gotten any calls, because most tests, you get the results in 3 days. So we're going on day 4 of that. So we should be safe there. I will be back again this evening. Like I said, I'm planning sometime between 7 and 8. Probably shoot right in the middle for 7:30 to make sure everything's lined up and safe. But I can't give you an exact time, only because I have to be at the board meeting while that's running. So soon as it's over, I'll come up and I'll do an evening session for parents, and maybe everyone's waiting for that. Oh, here's one now that says, what about Regents exam? Any news? I did say that earlier in the broadcast that they're still on. Nothing's been canceled. And then here is the link for the Conversation in Science COVID vaccines. You need to click that link and make a reservation with the Buffalo Museum of Science. It is sponsored with and working in conjunction with UB Medical School. So I encourage you to sign up for that if you're around that night. We all know how difficult it is for everyone when schools need to be suddenly closed. I am so familiar with HIPAA, but maybe the district could give a bit more info and the details when they do. You give it to us now, but it is after the fact. Maybe in the to-go call, details can be given. So yeah, we can work on that as to why we're closing, a little bit more in general without giving too much away. A lot of it is trying to make sure you have all the facts, do a lot of contact tracing. We're making hundreds of phone calls quickly between staff and some parents to get it out, and then say, okay, we have to call it and let parents know so they can start planning. And some of the details might not be final yet, so but we could try to do a little bit more information. Yeah, I know what you meant with the robocall. So yes, we could do that. But trust that we don't close schools a lot, and if we are doing it, it's because all signs are pointing towards an example like I gave today earlier, where multiple classrooms, multiple teachers, multiple kids were in close contact. That's why we typically close. All right, I will be back this evening. I hope everyone has a safe day and stay warm, and we will see you at no, nothing's closing, so don't worry about it. So we're talking about how we close buildings when we need to close it. So I will see you later tonight if you can make it, and if not, I'll see you next week, which is February 3rd. Thank you and stay safe.